Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. What's it like for you dealing with camp parents in 2023?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
A big thanks to our sponsors who make the CampHacker podcast possible. You don't lead camp because you love the office, right? UltraCamp has everything you need to manage your program so you can spend more time doing what you love. Manage staff, register campers, take payments, and direct communication all in one place. Find out more at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker.
Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the Camp Hacker podcast, brought to you by UltraCamp and 5 Minute Fridays, of which more than half of the panel is an instructor on 5 Minute Fridays. My name is Travis Allison. I am a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I am the director and founder of Camp Highlight and also a camp consultant. Camp Highlight is a one-week sleepaway camp for kids with LGBTQ families. It's the best camp in the world.
It is the best camp in the world. And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors at Camp Waro. Camp Waro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains, and we focus on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
And my name is Joe Richards. I'm the executive director at Pierce Williams Summer Camp and Retreat Facility, which is part of the United Church of Canada's camping network. And we are also the best camp in the world. And we're located halfway between Detroit and Toronto.
Hello, I'm Jolly Corley. I'm with Camp Robindel for girls in New Hampshire on Lake Winnipesaukee. And our purpose is to inspire gratitude, help develop and nurture personal growth, and hopefully then kids will find their people.
That's awesome. Jolly, welcome back to Camp Hacker. We're grateful to have you.
I am super excited to be here. This has been really fun, especially all the behind the scenes fun. I like that.
Don't give away any secrets.
I won't. But it's
Don't
super fun, people. People, if you ever get a chance to see what's behind.
That's right. Come on, Camp Hacker, because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, we're grateful to have you here. And in fact, we asked Charlie to be here because she's a 5 Minute instructor, 5 Minute Fridays instructor who is focusing on the relationship between camp directors and parents. And so thank you, Jolly, for being here and bringing your expertise. But as we all know, all of us have some experience in dealing with parents. And I want to start us off with, I want to get sort of the negative stuff out of the way, and then I want to deal with what we can do to be constructive. Is there someone who would like to tell me their most frustrating moment with a parent in some anonymous way that you could get away with telling us this story in public? Joe, do you have one? Do you mind starting us off?
I think when I think about most frustrating, if we're talking recently, it's about parents who have no concept of the care their child needs and are unwilling to share that information with us, right? They think that the less we know, the better care they'll get because we won't prejudge them. And the reality is that we need to know as much as possible so that we can set them up for success. And parents who are hiding things from us is very frustrating. And parents who have, I think every parent, and as a parent myself, thinks their child is wonderful, but they're not. Some children are not wonderful, if that is the easiest way to say it without getting in trouble, right? And some children have lots to learn, and I can see it in their parent. Right? In dealing with a parent, I can see what they have to learn because we learn, kids and parents are so alike. And so that's my biggest challenge is parents who are trying to hide the needs that their child has or the challenges that their child has in socialization, especially after the pandemic.
Thank you, Joe. Jolly, what do you think?
I totally agree with you on the idea. I mean, I wanted to riff right off of that because I think one of the things that's frustrating for me is when parents don't see camp as a partnership, right? And so I think that if I can't get that across, I I feel horrible, but I feel like more often I'm more frustrated with myself when I have a frustrating interaction with a parent. I feel like I didn't set that expectation up clearly enough. Anyone who knows me knows that this is just how I work. I don't generally go the other way. But when you were saying about the idea that parents don't include everything, and I'll add something where I think they're doing the best for their child, right? Like you said, they are trying to give their child the kind of heads up they think they are by not giving us that information. Like no one will judge them. They'll get kind of a clean slate. So I think they're doing it from a place of what I would call intensive parenting. And we can get into that later. But that idea that sometimes even their doctors, or I don't know if any of you have had this, where the doctor will be like, it's a really great idea to give the kid like a chance to be off their meds for a while. And then they decide it's going to be camp, which is where the child needs the most support, right? They don't have their normal support around them. It's a new environment, or even a returning environment, but it's new because it's now like a new class, like when you go back for the school year, even if they've been at camp. And so that idea that parents don't understand, they need all the support they can get while they're trying this really cool new challenge called camp. So that would be my frustration, is that lack of idea that we're partners, not a handoff.
Yeah. Right. All right. Gabs, is there something for you?
I mean, since COVID, behaviors have gone up, they're just a little bit more where sometimes it'd be maybe a difficult conversation. It's almost like just sharp peaks instead of like a blunt object that's hitting you. And last year, for the first time, I had a parent that wouldn't accept their kid to go back home early. And the child was truly homesick and truly emotionally not doing well. And our camp doctor, who's a pediatrician, was on the call with me. And the parent just felt like her child was going to be a failure, or feel that way if they went home, and that this is not how we build resiliency. It was a really difficult conversation. We did evaluate that if we did send the kid home, would they be safe? But after hearing the parents talk to the child, they were quite supportive of the child. They were just very, very, very against our decision in sending her home. It was the right decision. She did go home, but there was this combativeness, and also she had said she had spoken to multiple psychiatrists that day, and what we were doing was being harmful. And I was like, well, and I think there's also a lack of awareness on camp directors and our professionalism. I have been called out a couple of times that I don't have the education to do the job that I do, which I do. I don't have the experience, and I don't know what I'm talking about. And I was like, well, I have a microphone that I use every other week on a podcast that other people listen to.
For 10 years,
but
almost 12 years
I don't
now.
get into it. I just listen to it. But so I think there's also this easy, like, we're kind of glorified babysitters. And obviously there's some great babysitters that are amazing out there that take their job very seriously. I think what's upsetting is that I truly think about the development of our kids and our young adults nonstop. It's what I eat, sleep, digest, doodle about, and there is a partnership that could be wonderful with some parents, and some parents we have to let go. And I'm very comfortable with doing that. I don't try to save parents and try to once they don't see the way we see, that's okay. And I'm happy to make partnerships with people that fit our value system.
Yeah, agreed. Chris, how about for you?
Well, once again, I go last. So everyone said all the things that I was going to say. Just
convenient excuses, Chris. Convenient excuses.
I was really vibing with what Joe said is about, we had a parent once who, our camp is only a week, right? It's sessions a week. We had a parent send a kid, and the kid in the second day is like, I need to call my therapist. My parent said I had to call my therapist. And now, one of the things that the parents sign is that, like, if your child has mental health services, you agree that they can go without those services for 1 week. Turns out that this kid at home is restricted from having sharps near them because they'll self-harm. Meanwhile, the arts and crafts shed is available to everybody all the time with all sorts of stuff there. And we just didn't know. And it was frustrating because I was like, yes, you thought we would say no and that we couldn't deal with your child's needs, like you should have just engaged us, And the other thing that I want to say, everything Jolly and Gab said, but the other thing I want to add is that, sometimes parents treat this industry as if it's the hospitality industry and not the education industry.
Yes.
So sometimes you call to say, hey, this isn't going well. Well, that's your job to do X, Y, and Z. And why aren't you providing? And da, 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 da. And it's like, you're not listening to me. I'm a partner in parenting your child. Right. So downshift from the like sort of merchant consumer relationship and like up level into the co-parent. We have to have a conversation about how to raise your child. And I don't know, and we'll get to this, but like a lot of this can be just addressed with a parent orientation. And I think maybe that's the way to go, is really highlight the fact how this is not hospitality.
That's a great point. And I want to talk about, so I will come back to how we prep parents better, but I want to address something that I've heard a couple of times, and we all, I think all of us in this industry see this as a partnership, that we care for your kids. We want them to succeed. We want to help create a good atmosphere for them to grow. I have seen parents get really weird about the word partnership, that, including the face of, who do you think you are that you're a partner in raising my kid? I don't know a way around it. I'm curious to know what you think the way around that. If we have this thing in our head, I mean, maybe in all fairness to what Chris is saying, we don't say enough to parents how we consider our relationship. So maybe we need to communicate that better. But what are your thoughts on communicating this partnership mentality, Joe?
I think that it's a phrase that we use, right? Your partners in parenting.
Yep.
And I think that parents who get it, and parents who don't are not the people who are going to send their kids anywhere to get anything, right? And it's unfortunate. I don't think that in my local community where we bring 75 to 80% of all of our campers from, that we're losing parents because of it, or we're losing kids because of it. I think that it's being married to a school administrator and knowing the types of people that my lovely partner puts up with on a daily basis, and the stories that she brings home, always wondering if it's a full moon every day, is, I'm just thankful that I don't deal with that. I'm very thankful that I'm an overnight sleepaway camp, and I deal with parents on 2 days of the week. I think that parents have failed, and we as a society have failed to continue the idea that it takes a village to raise a child. I think that people
100%.
believe that it takes me to raise a child and I know what's best for them. And I just don't think that is not the way that we're going to raise amazing future generations, not by ourselves.
And that's being transparent, I think, about your values. And I think what you're putting on social media, what you're sharing with your families in emails, that you're very, very transparent about your values. Everything from, what type of approach we take when we're speaking to our children, that their pronouns, whatever their pronouns are, we will accept and we won't share with you unless they want us to, et cetera, also helps people to find your organization, and either it speaks to them or it doesn't. All of our families, when they register to camp, have to have a phone conversation with our camp director, executive director, or logistics coordinator. So you can't come to Camp Wara without an actual phone call. And then every single new camper also gets to meet their section head on Zoom if they want. And then every single first-year camper gets a phone call. Their family gets a phone call within the first 72 hours. So in these three capsules, these three areas, our value system is constantly being fed to our families. Our expectations are fed to our families. I would have to say that in these past couple of years, though we have had some quite prickly experiences with some parents and also parents of staff members, it's most intense I've experienced. we've had on the flip side extremely grateful parents, and are also desperate because they don't know what to do with their kids. Their kids are either very anxious or erratic, don't want to have conversations. And when we call them and ask them, is this typical at home? Some of our parents' first thing is, are you sending them back? We're sorry. And it's like, no, just want to know what's going on at home, just noticing some things. And they're very, very grateful. And I'm trying to take the opportunity when we are dealing with their kids to share what's been working with us, adapt what they've done at home, and see if it's going to work with them here. So I think there's almost this opportunity, but no camper can come to Camp Waro unless we've spoken to the guardians.
We similarly do that with new kids. We will call them and have a conversation with the kid and with the parent, together, which is always, the kid doesn't actually give us much because the parent is sitting right there. But also, and I'm just thinking about this as we're having this conversation, is really pitching to the parent the partner piece. I think when we pitch to parents, because we want them to register, we talk about character education. We also talk about all the fun there is to do. And I think in some ways I can indict myself in sort of inviting people to think about it as like hospitality, right? It feels more like a cruise and less like a school. I don't
developmental experience.
Yes, a developmental experience. I don't want to say it's an adjunct to school because that's a whole different conversation. But I think we invite people to think about it more as developmental experience. And I want to just express my own frustration with parents right now is that they don't read anything. Now, we know that we can never get them to read anything. There's nothing that we can do. If we individually went to their homes and, did a trumpet and unrolled a scroll in front of them, they would still find some way to be distracted. And I think that's very frustrating is that we do communicate very important stuff, such as, I don't know, registration deadlines. Can I tell you, my inbox right now is filled with emails from parents. Oh my gosh. My so-and-so is on the waiting list. Are they near the top? Is there anything you can do? And I'm like, oh yes, there's definitely something that I can do. I can send you an email every day of the week for 3 weeks before registration. Oh wait, I already did that. I did what I needed to do. You just needed to read your email, but you did it. So now what you have to do is get in a time machine and act right. I mean, that is super frustrating. I don't have a solution to that, but I mean, I put that in there because I think there's only so much that we can do. And I think I always say 11% of anybody will do anything. 11 to 12% of parents there's no controls.
We'll follow through.
Won't. 11 to 12% of parents, it doesn't matter what you do, no matter what you do, they will show up to camp with the kid being like, I didn't get the packing list. Like, it doesn't matter. And I want to be clear, like this conversation, we're trying to aim it at like bringing other parents into the fold because 1 out of 10 parents, there's nothing you can do about them. And we shouldn't focus on that. Those people have executive function problems or whatever they're dealing with that we're not going to be able to touch it.
Yeah. I want to say a thing that I've said lots of times, but I'm compelled to say it again. We need to present information that we need our parents to have in multiple formats and multiple times. The repetition has to be there. It has to be something, we're talking now millennial and Gen Z parents. It's got to fit in 90 minutes and have a song and a dance for them to pay attention. And I get that. It's frustrating. We have so much. This is part of my job all the time. I look at camp websites for a living. It's a big part of what I do. And the thing that drives me crazy is camp websites that don't have search feature on them because camp is complicated. We can't say it all at once. Parents will need to see it again. They'll need to come back like, what was that packing list again? And we just frustrate them. So that's my repeated message. Jolly, how are you feeling?
All these things, all the feels. It's funny when you're talking about the communication piece of it, because I was like, yes, we have actually, I have a parent and it's executive functioning. And a lot of times they really are busy. Like
totally fair. Yep.
Totally fair. I have one parent right now who literally has 2 children at camp, like that will be going to camp. One is registered. Everything's set. The other one is not. The funny thing is the one that is not is the one that has been at camp and it's super excited. The other one's brand new. And I don't know if she was just like focused on making sure she got in, kind of like what Chris was saying, like she knows there's a spot for her returner, right? I don't know what it is, but it cracks us up as we're looking at this. We're just like, wait, you managed to get one of the children said. What about the second one? Like we would anyway. So hearing that, I'm like, yep, I hear that. So that is a frustration. And it's, yeah, I don't know what you do about it, but I like the idea, Chris, that you don't focus on that, right? Like that camp, you have to focus. It's like kids, like, sometimes we focus on the whatever 10% that are, or staff. And then you have 90%, everything's like, whew. Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to ask yourself, why do you want to parent with the parents? Does that serve you? I think sometimes it doesn't at all. And there's no need to parent with certain parents. My friend Shauna Joyce says, I don't really talk to my parents and I love it. And I don't envy your situation where you're talking to all the parents. And I like also her point of view. I think that there's just, we talked about a lot of the times, like frustration is the source of, direction that you can follow. And I'm not somebody that checks, people that are around this table right now know that I'm not somebody that checks my emails very often. I give Chris like a weekly fright with like, I'm at 64,000 unchecked emails at this point, I think. But I think that, in those conversations that we have with our parents in that first call, the campers aren't present. And so we tell them we have staggered emails that come out. They're specific for you. If it's your first year, if it's your second year, your third year, and they're going to start coming in about 5 weeks before your camper comes to camp. And they're really just basically little bites of information. It's also our camp guide broken up into little pieces that just looks a little bit differently. And we walk them, we give them an example of what it is. And they're like, this is what we've done for you. And they're like so excited about these staggered emails, and they can go over it with their camper, but it's a way of guiding them into absorbing the information. And I think that, I know there's always things that we can do better with communication with our families. I'd love to move to having text messages as a service for our families where they can say, I'd love emails for reminders, or I would like text messages. Would I like promotional material, or would I like, for me, text messages would be great. But I think it's really coming down to, why do you want to parent? Why do you want to partner with the parents and get to that core and be transparent with them when you have that opportunity?
You have to communicate why we think that. So we're talking about communicating all of the things that you need, to know before your child arrives at camp. But in between, the people just are learning about your camp, you have to figure out the ways to communicate in same different styles that your values, and your values are, we value these kids. The other piece to it is that when I say you need to break up communication and do it lots, and Gab's describing different streams of information for different parents, I know that feels overwhelming. And the trick is to do one stream, to do one piece of this, one kind of parent, one kind of communication, and then have that be it for the year, and then build on it the next year. Because when you automate these things, you just cut and paste ready to go, then it can happen easier. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Like every camp job, which is always overwhelming, you just pick at the little pieces until it becomes a little less big. Jolly.
So this goes off of that as well, but that idea of texting, because I am the same way. I would rather text. So that's what we do our follow-up. So when we do our massive, whether it's register now or the last time for this, or then I usually try and follow up with a text message. And I find that is way better for most people. Now, there's still going to be the 1%, but it doesn't matter how you connect with them. But here's interesting. This is just to put this out here, but I watch my daughter, who's a teenager now, and her text messages are like Gabby and I, like our emails. I'm like, wait, you have 89 unread messages, like text messages? I don't get it. She's like, well, it's just, yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the next thing? Like when she becomes a parent, anyway, just throwing that out there, that it's just going to keep going. We're going to be back to the post office. That's what my prediction is it's going to go back around. It'll be this novelty to get like your registration in the mail.
Get their attention. Yeah.
Joking.
But I think you're sort of joking, but I'm also like, yes, actually, these are, we're talking about staggered emails. That's not exciting, but you send a postcard and say, hey, your staggered email should be starting in the next couple of days. Check your email for really great information. Looking forward to see so-and-so at camp. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, there's an attention to detail. We got something cool in the mail. There's something like, I'm kind of like, use different venues, but definitely what Travis is saying, you don't have to do all the things. But if you're already putting energy into something, sending a postcard is kind of nice.
I call that marketing your marketing. Like you have to let them know that that piece is coming, the communication's coming. You're communicating that to them, the communication is coming. I want to thank UltraCamp for sponsoring this episode. When you're a CampHacker listener and you need to increase your staff retention, you can go download UltraCamp's staff communication calendar. It includes pre-written prompts. It's free. And you can have good communication with your staff all year long so that you are less stressed when it comes to hiring season and you've got rapport continue to build. They have a good connection to you and camp and their summer jobs. So you can get it for free by going to ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. When you think about your own camp experience and why you got into this, UltraCamp knows it wasn't because you love paperwork. And that's why they built this platform that there are no limits on the features of support that you can get from UltraCamp. So there's no limits on what you can report or how often you can get insights from your database. With UltraCamp, you get unlimited custom reports, unlimited support, unlimited training, and unlimited users. UltraCamp's goal is always to help their clients spend less time in the office and more time out of the office having an impact with kids. If you want to know if UltraCamp is right for you, they offer free customized demo sessions so you can see their software in action. You can sign up again at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. We're running out of time. I wonder if there's any final thoughts on this topic. I don't feel like we've solved anything, but I do feel like we've brought up some very important points and some great advice from all of you. And so, I wonder what you're thinking. Joe, how about you?
You're never going to get everybody on your side. You're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to do these things. I think the reality is where society is currently, when we use a phrase like partnering and parenting, those parents who understand the value of community will come to camp. And that's who we're marketing to. I think the parents that we have the biggest struggles with here at Pierce Williams are the parents who come to us through children and family services agencies or other agencies who don't have as vested of an interest in the cost of camp if they're being funded by someone else. And I think that as long as you're looking for, as David Allen would say, we're looking for direction, not perfection. So just keep moving in the right direction and go from there.
Jolly, you had a thought?
Things, as I was saying at the very beginning, I kind of look back on myself and because I can't control what the parents are going to do or not do, but I can control what I'm either giving them as far as information or how I perceive them. And one of the things I think they really like this idea of intensive parenting. We've kind of come off that idea of this helicopter parent, this like bulldozing parent, because I do think the trend, it got sped up. Probably it was already happening, but I think COVID sped it up with this idea that we need community. Our kids need social interaction. Like parents are looking for the tools for this, Definitely. And camp is one of those. And I think what helps me is to remind myself, instead of being like, oh, they're involved in everything, is that we're in a time period where parents are intensive, right? There's been this, there were helicopter parents at the turn of the last century for wealthy people because they had time, they had the resources, and they were all over their kids. Like, if you were from the upper class, your parents controlled who you married, where you went to school, everything. It was like working class were just like, we're just not going to do that. Well, then that trickled down over until we come down. And then we got this idea of helicopter parents, et cetera. And now, no matter what, where we are as far as economically, the socioeconomic, the education of parents, meaning whether they have college or high school degree, you can see this intensive parenting. But for some who don't have resources, they know this is what they should be doing. And it becomes even more frustrating because they don't have the resource or the time. You're working 3 jobs, 2 jobs, whatever it is, you're single parenting. And so I think that's another thing that regardless, if we can think of it as intensive parenting, parents wanting the best for their children, then we can have more empathy for them and invite them into this conversation. And I think that conversation is the most important. And I love what a lot of people are saying, that if people don't want to be part of that, then we can just say, hey, camp's not maybe for your family. And I want to say one other thing is maybe not saying we're parent like partners or, like co-parenting. No, we're like a partner for you and your family, like to help you grow in the direction that you want to grow your children. So I can keep going, but that's what I'll leave you with.
What do you think, Chris?
Just real quick. One, I think it's helpful to, in your materials, like just be specific about what it is that we're doing. I go to a lot of camp websites too, and it's like, we always emphasize the fun and it's going to be great and they're going to grow, and it's also non-specific. And I think it would be okay to get a little bit more specific with what it is that we're doing, or strike that, what it is that we're aiming to do. And, connect it to SEL, which I think is something that used to be industry talk, but I think after the pandemic, I think parents can understand, or in a place where they can understand what social emotional learning is and how it impacts their child and why it's important. I know in America that's been politicized, but when you live in a country where French fries are politicized, I don't know if we should, stop to think about that at all. Prepare and be clear with your parents, especially around any communication and communication schedules. We all make mistakes, but given that parents, only 89% of the parents are going to read stuff, and like fully 100% of them will read it quickly. Bullet points is always best. And like Travis said, I would say, as many multiple forms of communication as possible. Lastly, the only thing I would say, don't be afraid of these parents. Just don't be afraid. Again, I think it's very much like, we're in this merchant zone where it's like the customer is always right. That is 100% not correct here. There are outcomes to us over-promising or under-investigating, or under-communicating with parents, like permanent consequences. So like, don't be afraid of the parents. If you get a vibe that this parent is like too pushy or too hands-off, like it's okay if we don't have every friggin' bed filled, especially if we know ahead of time that a parent-child combination is going to be stressful for either us, the staff, or their kids. Do yourself the favor and be like, you know what, maybe now's not the time.
Do you have a thought, Gabs?
Yeah, I think like for me, so within our organization, typically Jackie and Alexandre are the primary communicators with our parents, and I primarily deal with our campers and our staff. And so there's something that was interesting that happened when we did have to send a camper home for behavioral issues. And when we did that, of course, rightfully so, the parents didn't really understand why they were going home, though there was some very clear reasons why this kid did need to go home. The parents said to me that once I did end up talking to them, they said to me, oh, you're sending them home because all these other parents want you to send this kid home. And I just said, actually, I don't typically speak to parents. There's almost like a firewall between me and that team. I'm not influenced whatsoever. So all of the decisions that are made for the wellness of our kids and our staff, including your child who is clearly struggling right now. And it's just not the it's just not the space for them to be in at the moment. And it really surprised the parent that I knew nothing about what other parents were thinking about this situation. And that's something that was not intentionally done for that reason, but it's something that now we keep because I'm not influenced by, our decisions aren't influenced by pressure from other families to do or not do. We really work within. I mean, we do talk to our parents, et cetera. I do speak to families, but there is still sort of this line, and it allows me to do my job the way I need to do my job. So, but with the parents that I am working with, where they want some help, it's actually becoming quite a lovely relationship. And it's something that when they're talking to other families, they're telling them like, this is how this works. And there's something really cool. And I see a community that is being built. And as we've all said, there's going to be that 10, 15% that's not going to get it. That's okay. But if you can have these positive experiences and that you truly are a teammate to a family, it's really a wonderful feeling. And if you can put something in your protocol where you get to meet them all before they first step onto camp, I think we're better for it.
Well, thank you all. I really appreciate your wisdom on this. So we now move on to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
We're excited to share something, each of us, that makes us a better camp director. Joe, would you mind going first?
I can certainly go first, Travis.
Excellent.
Today's tool is a book, and this is brought to us by our good friend Dan Weir. He recommended it on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook a lot, but when I am, I sometimes pay attention.
You follow Dan.
Well, he came up in the feed. So the name of the book is The Coddling of the American Mind, How Good Intentions and Bad Ideas Are Setting Up a Generation for Failure. It is a fascinating listen so far. I'm about halfway through it. Dan's comment on his post was thinking about it in terms of staff training, because the way that the book essentially goes over the fact that there are some things that the generation we're currently employing have been taught that are untrue. And some of those are things that they're fragile and we need to protect them at all costs, right? That which does not kill us makes us weaker, right? And we need to not do those things, right? And so it's an interesting and fascinating look at it. Does it solve how I will do my staff training going forward? Not yet, but it certainly helps us to understand things. The quick part for us, Travis, is last summer, our staff were trying to create safe space. And safe space is really a safe physical space is the way that phrasing started when it was initially used. And it has slowly crept into the safe mental space. And so our leadership team, unfortunately, had said before a session, listen, if you need a leave, if you feel triggered, and then half of the staff left the session on abuse at camp. And I'm like, that can't happen. Our staff need to be trained on this. This is a job. I don't care. You need to deal with being triggered, right? It's not that I don't care that you're triggered. You need to be able to deal with it in the moment, because that's what's going to make you more resilient going forward. Not leaving the session and taking yourself out of that just because you think something. And so it's a fascinating look at how, with research and with things. So it's a great book. The Coddling of the American Mind, How Good Intentions and Bad Ideas Are Setting Up a Generation for Failure. And thecoddling.com is their website, and they have a bunch of solutions and other things there as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Jolly, what's your tool?
Mine is an app that I've been trying out for a little while to give to staff or to help staff. And it's called Fabulous. And it's an app for coaching and habit building. If you do not, it's one of these things where I think you have to want to be in that mindset of trying to do that. It could drive you, I could see it driving someone absolutely crazy, because there is a lot of they have really great listening things that you can listen to kind of focus your mind and meditate. But I was looking at this morning, it's the power of emotion regulation, reframe, recenter, assess, and choose, which is, and again, if anybody who knows me, these kind of things, I like that idea that they're using the EQ to work on habits. I think it probably could easily slide into the area of worried about food and diet, which would drive me crazy. But I like that enough of it is not that way. I'm still working on it and looking at it. It's not something I would give to every staff member, but I would definitely so far recommend just trying out. They have a free trial to see how it works. But I like the EQ piece of it.
Perfect. Thank you. And that reminds me, if you are interested in any of the topics that our hosts share, go to camphacker.tv/podcast and search the show notes. And you can find links to all that there because we've put the iPhone and Android links to that app. And we're going to put the link to the website Joe mentioned and everyone else's tool. Gab, what's your tool?
My tool is loop earplugs. You might have seen them on Instagram or TikTok, if wherever you absorb your social media. And first of all, Travis, you'll appreciate this. Check out the branding.
Very cool.
So cute.
Can you push it up closer to the camera so we can see better?
But it will be a little.
Go to YouTube, everybody. Check out.
It is so nice.
Very cool.
And so basically, like, oh my gosh, all the colors. I went, of course, with more things. But basically, they're earplugs, and there's different types. The one that I have are called Engaged. Yeah, Engaged Plus. And so there's different types of earplugs for different reasons. The reasons why I went for Engage or Engage Plus is that it's for parents. I'm not a parent, but I work with the little people, noise sensitive, social gathering, good for communication. And I do get a little overwhelmed with sound. I'm fine with loud camp noises. It doesn't really bother me. But like sharp noises in the city when I'm walking, it just sort of like gathers in my brain and then starts to create a little bit of anxiety. And I've been using it for the past couple of weeks. I'm really excited to use it at camp. And I'm also trying to role model at camp this year campers that do use headphones for loud noises. So we've purchased a bunch of extra like headphones for people that want some cancellation of those sounds. A lot of the kids that come to camp with them won't wear them in the dining room or in the lodge because they stand out. So this year I'm trying to also role model, if you need them, it's okay. So I'm very excited about these little guys. Now, how long will I have them before I lose them? We will see. But right now, 9 days, everybody.
Have you seen Pink's doing a lot of videos for promoting a new album, or I forget what it is, but I've seen her interviewed a couple of times, and she has these funky earrings that hold her iPod things. So just,
I saw those.
People were like, "Those look like iPod jewelry." She's like, "No, they are my iPod AirPods." It was like, "Yep, smart. Just attach it to your ear holes, and then they're there when you need them to go in your bigger ear holes."
I think it's what's gonna be needed, but it does come like with a little like kit that you can put on your keychain. But I lose my keys, so it's useless.
Some people put a chain on their glasses. Other people put it on their ear plugs.
Holes, yeah.
Chris, what's your tool?
So for a living, I talk. Like I show up places and people give me money and I talk, which if you knew me when I was little would be shocking to you because I could not get up in front of the class without literally bursting into tears. Now I'm like up in front of like 3,000 people. But here's a secret that you should know about me. That shy little boy is still inside and he sweats profusely. Like I'm talking full flop sweat, even when I'm super confident in the material, right? Or if it's material I presented a million times, like I will finish and then go to the bathroom and be wet from like neck down. So the one thing that I found has really helped me, if you are a flop sweater, is Thompson Tees. It's a kind of t-shirt where they have like padding underneath the arm, so it collects extra moisture, so it doesn't bleed through your shirt, and it looks like you are, trying to sneak something through immigration. Which is usually how I look after a training if I'm not wearing one of these. So I just wanted to share that because it is something that has honestly made my life better as a presenter. So people don't think I'm nervous and untrustworthy. So check it out.
That is awesome, Chris. I'm totally checking those out. I share your physical problem.
Let me tell you something. If you ever see me speak in public, just know I am absolutely wearing a Thompson tee. If I'm not, then I look like, Whitney Houston on any given day. Rest in peace.
Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you. My tool of the week is a book by Michaeline Duclef, and Michaeline has this amazing book out called Hunt, Gather, Parent. And Dr. G and I got to interview her on the parenting podcast that we do, that we produce for a number of camps. And it was an amazing interview. Michaeline she's a reporter for NPR. She's a PhD, and she's done this research, what ancient cultures can teach us about the lost art of raising happy, helpful little humans. And so many camp themes in her work. Certainly It Takes a Village is a big part of it. But it was all based on her experience with her own daughter, who at 2, she was really struggling with, and said in our interview, I'd given up. I was like, I'm just going to have to ride this to the next wave of her development, and hopefully it'll change. And then she started doing all these interviews, and she interviewed Mayan families in the Yucatan, Innu families in Nunavut, and some families in, I think it was Zimbabwe. I lost the thread on that, but there's some other ancient cultures that she'd worked with. So fascinating interview, great book, good for camps to talk about. And one of those great resources that, if you have parents, favorite camp parents, and you want to give them just a little something of appreciation, pass this book on and just say, I was thinking of you, saw this book, heard good things. And it's one of those nice things to have in your back pocket to pass on to favorites. Or friends who are new parents and getting stressed. So check that out. It's Michaeline Duclef. Again, camphacker.tv/podcast for the show notes. All right. I am going to say thank you to all of you for being here. Jolly, it's great to have you back on. And I always appreciate your wisdom. And I love watching your videos on 5 Minute Fridays and learning from your experience there. It's been a really fun year for me that way. Thanks, Jolly.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, thank you for dialing in from a third country, adding a third country into the mix again.
Yes, I am from Mexico. So we're just, I'm from Mexico today. So
Excellent.
It's very sunny, and congratulations to me.
Yes, congratulations. A, best camp in the world. B, you are from Mexico today. So many things to congratulate Chris for.
So many things.
Joe, thanks for being on.
Not a problem. Anytime.
Grateful. Thanks, Gab.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. I want to wrap up with just one final thing. Please, if you're interested in more professional development like this, especially if you're a nonprofit camp director, Joe and I did a podcast called Fundraising at Camp with our friend Heather. And Joe and Heather taught me lots of stuff in the couple of years that we ran that show. So check it out. The shows are still valid, and there's some great tips and tricks. There are some good things to learn in that. So just search for Fundraising at Camp, and you can find that show there. Grateful to have this conversation. I appreciate everyone's openness and honesty and their level of intention. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening.
Hey, Camp Pros. We love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, if you've gotten even one good idea from a Go Camp Pro podcast, a masterclass, from the Summer Camp Pros group on Facebook, at a conference, or wherever else, we ask that you give credit where credit is due. That way, we can encourage camp pros to keep freely sharing their brilliant ideas and make the camp industry better. Thanks very much.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.